An 18-year-old man is shot and killed by a Chicago police officer this weekend. It happened around 10:30 last night near 61st and Prairie. Police officers say they were trying to conduct a traffic stop when a passenger in the car started shooting. They returned fire, striking and killing Ezell Jackson. It's just one of many crimes police deal with nightly. But as Vince Girasoli joins us to explain, the National Guard may soon be on the streets of Chicago to fight crime. Vince?
Well, it's at least a proposal, Jim. Those living in violence-plagued neighborhoods say their streets seem like a war zone. Now, two Chicago area lawmakers say it's time to treat those neighborhoods as if a battle really was being waged there, especially when it comes to giving the police the help they need. They say that help is the National Guard.
The shattered windows and violent details seemed all too plausible in Chicago this week. 20-month-old Cinia Cole was shot to death in the backseat of a car, the victim of a bullet intended for her father.
This is a child. How can you live with yourself after you've done this?
Cinia is among the 113 Chicagoans killed by violence so far this year, in a city where police officers are admittedly stretched to their limits. It's the same number of deaths registered by U.S. troops in Iraq and Afghanistan for the same time period. Some state lawmakers say the violence at home now requires similar military backup.
Just because something is unprecedented doesn't mean it's unwarranted.
State Representatives John Fritchie and LaShawn Ford are calling on Governor Quinn and Mayor Daley to deploy the National Guard to help the city's police department combat the shootings, killings, and crime sprees plaguing some Chicago neighborhoods.
When you have a police department that is offered help, I'd be hard-pressed to understand why they wouldn't accept that help.
As much as I'd like to have as much help as possible, I'm not sure that mixing the National Guard with local law enforcement is the solution.
In response, the city's top cop, Superintendent Jody Weiss, says the missions of the National Guard and the police department differ in principle. Police officers are trained in how to legally execute search warrants and preserve evidence for prosecution. The Guard's mission statement in the theater of war doesn't necessarily take that into account.
The military doesn't work under the same United States constitutional amendments that law enforcement does.
But for those floating the idea, drastic violent times in some neighborhoods call for drastic measures.
When kids on the south side and west side have to worry about getting to and from school alive, there's something wrong with that.
Now, Weiss says support in Springfield for stricter gun laws would go farther in helping police fight crimes. For now, Governor Quinn isn't commenting on the proposal. Back in 2008, his predecessor suggested deploying the National Guard for the same purposes. At that time, City Hall indicated at least a willingness to consider the idea, Jim.
All right, Vince. Thanks. Vince Girasoli in the newsroom.